Hey everyone, welcome back to the Hybrid Athlete Dad podcast. In today's episode, I'm going to be going over how I structure my training week as a dad. Now, before I dive into today's episode, I like to go over anything that I've come across when it comes to fitness, nutrition, or anything that I think that you might find interesting. So, to kick off today's show, I'd been running the last week or two, and I noticed that my legs were pretty sore on my runs. It almost felt as though I was getting shin splints. I had taken a week off running because I had to go to the dermatologist and get a procedure done. I did some biking, but I couldn't do any running. The following week, I was running back up and running, and I did 30 miles that week of running. But then the past week, I noticed when I was running, my legs were very sore. I didn't have as much, I don't know if you would call it firepower, but couldn't accelerate as quickly as I felt as though I used to. And I could see in the mileage time where I was running like 9:30 miles, 9:15 miles. And on an easy run, usually I'm about 8:45, 9 minutes a mile now. So it wasn't up a ton, but it was up enough where I could see the difference within it. So I'm thinking maybe I took a week off and then I went to 30 miles. Maybe I had jumped too far at once, going from running no miles for a week, but running 30. But at the same point, it wasn't like I jumped from 0 to 30 and I had never done any running before. I had done 30 miles a week consistently for probably the last 6 months or so. And then now I'm all of a sudden, I took a week off and then I run 30 miles. And I was thinking that doesn't really make a ton of sense to me. I was like, what could be the issue? Could it be, who knows what it could be, honestly? Like, I'm just going to keep running and see how I feel. Probably not the best solution, but that's how a lot of times when my legs aren't feeling great, I try to just push through it and see how I feel. There's never been a point where I've had to stop running or take a break. Usually, if there's something with my legs, I'll just keep pushing through and then eventually it'll subside. Well, in this scenario, obviously, when I was going through last week and running and it really wasn't feeling that great, it's like, okay, like, what's going on? And I knew I had to go and do a 10-mile run. I hadn't done a 10-mile run in about a month or so. When I do my 30 miles a week, I usually have been doing 2 miles on Thursdays, just easy, nice at the gym on the treadmill, and then a 7-mile run on Friday. But I like to rotate between running on Thursdays and Fridays. So I'll do 2 on Thursday, 7 on Friday, or doing none on Thursday and then doing 10 on Friday. So I did the 10-mile on Friday and was just very curious to see how that was going to feel running those 10 miles. And honestly, it felt, my legs felt decent. I noticed that when I was running early on, I was running, the splits were like 9 minutes, 9:05, 9:15, 9:20 at mile 4. And then I honestly started to go back down where my 10th mile was a time of about 8:30, 8:45. So that was interesting how that happened. I also tried to fuel better during that run. So when I had breakfast that morning, I had a piece of sourdough bread, which usually I put butter on it, Kerrygold butter, but I had put peanut butter on it. Instead, I made sure to have a BPN Go gel before I ran, and then about halfway through, I also made sure to have a BPN Go gel there as well. I've tried the BPN Go gels, and I've tried the Honey Stinger gels, or I don't know if they're called Honey Stinger. They also have those waffles or the little, cookie type things, but nonetheless, I do like the BPN gels. I find that they don't upset my stomach as much as the Honey Stinger gels had been doing. But typically, I hadn't been training using these gels on my long runs. Usually, I would just go out and go run my long runs because I know in my mind I was like, I'm not running a race. Why should I be using these gels? But I used them and I felt so much better because of it. Where I didn't crash. Where sometimes when I'm on a 10-mile run, I hit a wall sort of at 7 miles, 8 miles, where I didn't have this scenario because I felt as though I was better fueled. And I was also inspired by this when I was listening to Nick Bear's podcast that he recently did with his coach on how to run your first marathon. I highly recommend checking out. And not that I ever run fasted. The only time I run fasted is on Saturdays, where I just get up and I get out the door and I run. Where on Fridays when I work out, I've already done a full workout at the gym, typically for about an hour. And then I come home and I have breakfast, which consists of 4 eggs, a piece of sourdough bread, and a protein shake. And then and then I go off and run. So was having a little bit more fuel than what I was used to on this run. And I feel as though that made a great difference on this run. So getting back to my story and where I was going without the fuel was legs were a little sore after the run, but I noticed on my Garmin app that a notification came up that I hadn't even thought about before. And honestly, it made sense because it was the same issue that I'd run into after I had run my marathon where I was getting shin splints and my calves were very sore, was that I hit a mileage with my shoe. So for me, what I did for my Garmin is I preset my gear in the app to show or to tell me once I run 400 miles in these shoes. So similar to the marathon, I had ran 400 miles in the shoes. And then just when I hit that point, I noticed that I start to get shin splints again and my calves start to hurt. And this is almost the same exact thing that happened now. So I have to go on and get a new pair of shoes. Usually for me, I would be stubborn and I would just wear these shoes for like the next 2 years. But I know that with the amount of mileage I'm doing, it's going to increase over time. And you don't want to put too much mileage on my shoes. The ones I run at the gym, those are the ones that I had previous 400 miles on it because there's not as much wear and tear when I'm running a nice easy pace on the treadmill versus me going outside and running on the cement and the pavement. So discovered that. So I would say if you do have the Garmin app, I'd recommend adding your shoes to it so that way you can track how many miles you're running into them. And for me, I put 400 miles to know like once I hit 400 miles, okay, now it's time to start replacing these shoes. So for me right now, that's about every 3 or so months that I'm going to be replacing my shoes. And again, just doing it to make sure that my feet feel great, that my legs feel great, because I don't want to use these shoes and wear them so far down that I end up hurting myself because I'm not using shoes that have the support anymore because I've ran so much in them. So fast forward to this week, legs feeling a little bit better. On Saturday, they were a little sore from the 10-mile run on Friday, but got off, went out and did a 5-mile run, came back and took the rest of Saturday and Sunday off. So in my workout, and I'll get into this probably a little bit into further detail when I get into the meat and potatoes of today's episode, but today's workout was a speed workout. So this is something that I've been thinking about incorporating into my workout at least one day a week. So I've done more tempo training. I haven't done too much on an interval training. So tempo might mean I get up and I go off and I run 8:30, 8:15 pace for 5 miles, where usually I'm running about a 8:45, 9-minute pace on my easy workout. So I go fast, but I wanted to do more of a speed workout today. So the speed workout, the way that I set it up and the way I consisted of it was 1 mile warm up about between 9.5 minutes. So I averaged about 9:20 on that. And then it was 7 repeats. So it would be a quarter mile at a 7:15 pace and then a quarter mile at a 9-minute pace. So that would be sort of my cool down. So did that. And then the last 0.75, so 3/4 of a mile, that was about a 9:30 pace on that. Ended up doing that, I think, 9 minutes or whatnot. It really wasn't that bad. 3/4 of a mile at this point when you've been going at 7:15 pace for a good majority of your workout. Running 9-minute miles really isn't that bad, but I really enjoyed it. So I want to continue to incorporate more of that in my workout. But telling you about the workout and what that looked like was that on this particular day. So I looked at the weather and I was like, okay, it's supposed to rain in a little bit. I'm going to go run a little bit earlier than I normally run. So got up, got outside, started running, and probably about less than half a mile into this run, started to rain. Okay, no problem. I've run in the rain before. Next thing I know, it's hailing in about, I wouldn't say they were dime size, but they were probably maybe half the size of a dime. They were definitely a little bit bigger than a pea, and just getting hit with them repeatedly. And it was honestly off and on. The entire workout was running through this rain and running through this hail. But I was just out there. I'm like, I'm committed to it. I want to make sure that I get this workout in no matter what. I'm already out here. I'm already wet. It doesn't feel great getting hit with hail, but I want to get the speed workout in. And honestly, it felt fine probably up until the seventh interval that I noticed that obviously my feet become waterlogged because I just have shoes on and socks, and they started to feel a little bit heavy at that point. But the funny thing is that on the sixth and seventh time of me running the 7:15 pace at the quarter mile, those were the two fastest times that I had ran. So the goal is for me is I want to start to lower how I don't want to say lower my speed, if I don't know what the right technical term is, but increase my pace, run a faster mile consistently. So wanted to do some of these more of these speed workouts, and then eventually be able to go off and do like a tempo run where I'm running a 7:30 for 5 miles, bringing that down from an 8-minute mile. Where again, this is just one workout that I'm doing that speed that's focusing more on being faster. Where I know I'd be killing myself if I did it every day, because it was definitely hard once I did it, and when I came home and trying to get back into the day, not that easy. But that's why I don't want to push myself all the time when it comes to running. And again, I'll get into it a little bit further in today's episode, but wanted to go through that speed workout and then running through rain and hail, and I think it was 32 degrees, so it wasn't too warm out either, but got through it and came out on the other side of it. Diving into today's episode, how I structure my hybrid training week as a dad. There's so much importance that goes into structure and your routine, and it matters so much as a hybrid athlete and a dad, whether you're just a father, whether you're a hybrid athlete, or you're a mixture of both, like myself. Our time is so limited throughout the day that I get up, I know I have to train, I know I have to get my daughter ready for daycare, I have to drop her off, then pick her up, and in between that time, I have to make sure that I get my job done. And then once she's home, what do I want to be doing? I don't want to spend so much time working out. I want to be spending time with her, but I also have to cook dinner, and then maybe I want a little bit of time for myself at the end of the night. So having this structure and this routine is really what allows me to plan my day to make sure that I'm the most efficient that I can possibly be. I know that if I didn't have my alarm clock set, if I was just getting up at any time, it would be so much harder to get into the gym. If I didn't know exactly what time I'm going to be running every single day, it would be that much harder to get up in the morning and go out and start to go for those runs. So as a hybrid athlete and a dad, you need to have that structure or routine in place to make sure that you can consistently get up at the same time each day, and you have that same routine. And it's just that routine that allows you to get up. I get up out of bed, I go to the gym, I come home, do what I need to do, then go for a run. So what that looks like for me right now, so my wake up window right now is anywhere from 4:15 to 4:50. So on Mondays and Thursdays, I get up at 4:15. On Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I'm up at 4:50. I prefer 4:50, but as an example, today at 4:15 on a Monday, I get up early because I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to do deadlifts, and those are just going to take me a little bit longer. I like to give myself more recovery time on that, but I also want to make sure that I'm going to be getting back in time for when my daughter wakes up. So I know, okay, Mondays and Thursdays, I have to get up a little bit earlier. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I can get up a little bit later because my workouts are about an hour, where on Mondays and Thursdays, they're about an hour and a half. Now, when I go to the gym, the way that I set up my routine is like right now, as I work out 5 days per week at the gym. So on Mondays, I do back, shoulders, and triceps. On Tuesdays, I do chest and biceps. On Wednesdays, I just do leg day. On Thursdays, I do back, shoulders, and triceps. And then on Fridays, I do biceps and chest. And that's how I've set it up. That's how I enjoy it, where I always make sure that I have at least 2 days off between, if you consider each body part, that training. So for me right now, I do a lot of hypertrophy training. So looking to get bigger, not so much on the strength side. I think the strength side just comes where the more that you lift, obviously, if I'm lifting 20 pounds, it's going to be hard, or 20 pounds, 20 reps, it's going to be a little bit harder to put on some strength. So what I like to do is I like to split it up between some sets doing 8 to 12 reps, some sets doing 4 to 6 reps. So as an example, on Mondays, I like to do a sitting dumbbell shoulder press. And right now I'll do 4 to 6 reps for 4 sets. So that's me focusing on my strength. On Thursdays, I'll do 8 to 12 reps of standing dumbbell press. So the variation is a little bit different. I'm not sitting, now I'm standing, and I'm not doing 4 to 6 reps, I'm doing 8 to 12 reps. So that's really how I like to mix it up. It could be same thing where on Tuesdays, I'm doing barbell curls where I'm doing 3 sets of 12. On Fridays, I'm doing weighted chin-ups. I'm doing 3 sets of 5. So you can see how they differ where on some days I'm focusing on strength, some days I'm focusing on more of my hypertrophy training. Now, when it comes to running, I run 5 days a week. Sometimes it might be 6 days a week, as I alluded to earlier. Sometimes I have to run an extra 2 miles on Thursdays to make sure that I get in my 30 miles for the week. So right now I usually run Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, have Thursday off, Friday, Saturday. I know a lot of people do their long runs on Saturday. I ended up doing my long runs on Friday because that's what worked best for me. I found that after working all week, after running, working out, working at my job, that by the time Saturday rolls around, I don't want to get up at 4:50. I want to be able to sleep till 6 or 6:30 and really allow my body to recover. What that meant for me is I couldn't be going off and doing a 10-mile run. What's easier for me is me going off and doing a 5-mile run, knowing that's only 45 minutes. So the way that I split up my runs is usually on Mondays, I'll do a tempo run. So I just do a nice, easy, I wouldn't say a tempo run is easy, but just do a tempo run on Mondays, whether that's doing that speed workout or whether that was doing what I described earlier, where I'm doing, excuse me, 8.5-minute miles or 8:15 for 5 miles, or more of a speed workout I'm doing today. On Tuesdays, I do an easy run, but the caveat is I like to do hills. So I make sure that I choose a route that has a lot of hills, that has a lot of elevation change. On Wednesday, I just do a nice, easy run. On Fridays, I do a nice, easy run, but I like to do a long run, whether that's 7 miles or whether that's 10 miles. And then on Saturday, to cap it all off, I just like to do a nice, easy 5-mile run. So Monday's 5 miles, Tuesday's 6 miles, Wednesday's 5 miles, Friday's 10 miles, or Thursday with 2, Friday with 7, and then Saturday with 5 miles. And that's how I like to split up my runs in between working out and pretty much everything that's in my life. Right now, I don't necessarily need to go further than 30 miles. If I was in a marathon prep, maybe I would be going further. I think when I was in my marathon prep, I think I was getting 40 to 50 miles per week. I probably would prefer that I went even further than that. But for where I am right now, where I'm really just training for half marathons and 10 miles, 30 miles a week is plenty. Plenty of miles for me right now. The reason I get up early in the morning is because I want to make sure that I get home in time before my daughter gets up. So she typically gets up between 7 and 7:30 in the morning. So I drive to the gym. It's about a 10-minute drive, so figure that's 20 minutes. I like to do a little bit of stretching, maybe about another 10 minutes, and then an hour workout. So that's looking at about, say, an hour and a half total between all of that, hypothetically speaking. So what I like to do is I get up at 4:50 as an example, and I come downstairs, I have a yogurt, I get ready for the gym, and I go to the gym. So I leave my house about 5:20 in the morning. I get to the gym at 5:30. I go through everything. I go through my stretching routine. I obviously do the workout, and then I'm leaving the gym by about 6:45, 6:50. Make sure I can get back in time by 7. So my daughter comes home. I have a morning breakfast with her, drop her off at daycare about 8 a.m., come back, and that's when I go out and do my runs because I want to make sure I get my runs done before the workday starts. Obviously, sometimes it might bleed a little bit early into it. As an example, if I'm doing 10 miles on Friday, maybe I don't start my workday until 9:30 instead of 9, but I make sure that I make up that time somewhere else throughout the course of the week. what I like best about the morning is that I'm able to tackle my workout before any problems arise. Let's say that something comes up in my job or my daughter gets sent home from daycare, which has happened quite a bit, honestly, since she's been in daycare and over the past probably 15, 16 months or so. Maybe something comes up in my job. Maybe something comes up in my personal life that I just hadn't expected. Typically, nothing is coming up in my life when I'm at the gym at 5:30 in the morning or when I'm on a 8 a.m. run. There's too little days so far for things to really start happening to me where I know if I had my workout plan later in the day, it's a little bit harder. Maybe I get caught up at work. Maybe my daughter gets sent home. Maybe I'm just tired. Well, yeah, I'm tired at 4:50, but once I get up, I get to the gym, I start working out, I'm going to feel more energized. So, what I would recommend if you're looking into doing hybrid training would be to work out in the early mornings. And made it over time where initially I used to go to the gym at 7 in the morning and then 6:45, then 6:30, and then once our daughter is born at 6 and 5:30. And luckily now our gym is 24/7, so I get up at 4:15 and get there on those few days about I'm rolling to the gym about 4:50, 4:55 in the morning. Now, this isn't to say that you can't work out at night or swap out how you do workouts, but for me, that's really just what works best for me is knocking out first thing in the morning before anything or anyone can get a hold of me. Now, I know some folks in the hybrid training space say you should have about 8 hours in between of when you run and when you lift. Maybe it's not 8 hours, maybe it's 6 hours, whatever the number may be. I find for me that just doesn't work for me. I can't be running at 4 or 5 o'clock at night when my daughter's home after I've had a long work day. I have to get that run done before anything comes up in my life after I've done my workout. I prioritize my my strength and my fitness, which is why I focus more on lifting weights and then first, and then the running is secondary to that, where I have more focus on again building size, building muscle, and then obviously running is a part of that. But that's why I put it secondary. If you want to get faster, better runner, maybe you run first before you start doing the strength training. But at least that's what works best for me. Now, when it comes to your workouts, you want to balance your intensity to avoid burnouts. And really, what that meant for me is I've worked out so many times doing these double sessions a day now where I don't really get too burnt out unless there's this instance where today I go off and I do a speed workout like I had done today, and then tomorrow I do a tempo run while I'm running these hills, and I just push myself because I want to push myself. Well, what that means is that by Wednesday, I'm doing leg day. My legs are shot. So I'm having to do leg day on very tired, very sore legs. And then when I'm done with that leg day, I still have to run another 5 miles. And my legs just feel absolutely terrible. My body doesn't feel great. So I want to make sure that I'm pushing myself to a certain degree, but I'm not overdoing it to the point where it becomes hard for me to work and for me to work out. Now, when it comes to managing my time and managing work, managing my family, I know one aspect that I mentioned to you before, but was navigating weekends and long runs without missing family time. I would say I probably don't enjoy on Fridays working out for an hour and then going off and doing a 10-mile run. I would prefer it on Saturdays, but I also prefer sleep and recovery, so I can't get the best of both worlds unless I go to bed at 8 o'clock on a Friday night, which I probably wouldn't prefer. I'd like to spend some time with my wife. So, what works best for me is getting that long run in on Friday. Maybe what works best for you is getting it in on a Wednesday, and then you still have a few more runs in the week because when I'm trying to balance my schedule between working out, running, job, family, and everything, I want to make sure that I'm not missing out on family time. I want to make sure that I'm showing up for my daughter, that I'm showing up for my wife, but at the same time, I'm showing up for myself by hitting the gym, by hitting these runs. There's the importance of being flexible with your plan no matter what happens in life. There are days where I get up to go run and it's all slush outside. Or maybe I get up to go run and our daughter is sick. She's going through a little sleep regression right now where she was up the other night from about 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. in the middle of the night. And that was a Wednesday night into Thursday. So I get up at 4:15. So maybe I take off the intensity a little bit when I'm at the gym or when I'm on the run and I just go a little bit slower because I haven't been able to recover the best that I have. So just to be flexible, that there's going to be times in your training plan that something comes up, you can't get your workout in, or you have to shortcut your workout. Not that I want to make excuses, but life happens and there's just certain things that come up in life that you just can't plan for. So you just have to be flexible with no matter what training plan that you have. And the last aspect that I want to touch on in today's podcast episode is the importance of recovery and nutrition. So obviously I'm running and I'm lifting out. So how do I fit in my recovery with the limited time that I have? Well, one is making sure that I eat enough. So I make sure that I eat enough in the sense that I use MyFitnessPal and I can track on my Garmin watch to see how many calories I need per day. Typically, on average, it's about 3,100 calories. So I want to make sure that I'm getting in 3,100 calories at least per day. I can see how many carbs I need. I can see how much protein I need. I can see how much fats I need. So I just track everything that I eat, and over time, you start to get a really good sense of, okay, here's what I'm gonna get out of this food. Here's what I'm gonna be getting out of this food. The last aspect of recovery and nutrition that I always want to harp on, but it's just the importance of sleep, making sure you're getting in your 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep per night, whatever works best for you. Even when I'm getting up at 4:15 or I'm getting up at 4:50 in the morning, I always make sure that I'm getting ready for bed about 8:15, 8:30, and then I have lights off by 9:15. So whether I'm getting 7.5 hours of sleep or I'm getting 7 hours of sleep, depending on the day of the week and when I'm waking up. The reality of training as a hybrid athlete parent are there going to be days that are tough, that are going to be busy, that you're going to feel overwhelmed, that you're going to feel stressed, but just know that all of us out there are in that same situation and we're all pushing forward and we're all becoming better versions of ourselves because of it.